শীতের ওড়নি পিয়া গিরিশের শীতের ওড়নি পিয়া বরিশার ছত্র পিয়া দরিয়ার না শীতের ওড়নি পিয়া ধনরে বিদ্যাপতি।
Jay Sri Radheshyam and welcome. The Life of Love. Biography of Sri Srimad Radharaman Charan Das Dev, the veritable embodiment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's universal religion of love, by Dr. o.b.l. Kapoor. A reading in Brahma Muhurta for the blessing of all Kali Jivas. Namaste Gurudevaya Sarvasiddhi Pradayine Sarvamagala Rupaya Sarvananda Vidyayine. Nitai Gaura Hari Hari Bol. Chapter 8. The Bhargavavayi. Thou mountain of men, thou fountains of tears, thou volcanic burst of ecstatic cheers, nature's own poet, love's own self, thou sage of sages, thou seer of seers, enchanting thy song, harmony thy dance, embodied joy, thou God's own man, give us thy love of God, soul's bliss and life eternal. The great grand land of the great grand God. At last they came to Nilachal, the abode of the Lord. Nilachal is another name for Jagannath Puri. It was the land where the great God was set in state amid our salvation to those who came to see him. It was the great grand land of the great grand God. Great the expanse of water around, great the extensive roads within, great the vast blue sky overhead, great the gusts of wind from the sea, great the spacious temple of the Lord, great the stupendous deities therein. The chakra was in sight. They saw it from afar and ran breathless to catch a glimpse of the Lord of Lords. Their hearts were throbbing with expectant delight as they darted across the dusty road. They found themselves at the Lion Gate, and they fell prostrate in profound veneration for the Lord. They enter, they ascend the pile and present themselves before the high God on the heights of the mountain temple of Puri. They were in the Jagamohan. They could see the Lord. They were looking with fast feasting eyes on the sweet effulgence of the Lord of Lords. Their hearts were full, and out of the fullness of their heart they began to sing. They were entirely lost to the world, lost in the depths of love of God. And their song drew the multitude of visitors to their side. 1,000 voices joined in the Sankirtan. 1,000 others stood looking on and listening to the divine melody. It was a scene, the like of which was never seen during the last 400 years of the Chaitanya era. The Sankirtan in Jaga Mohan. The worshippers and the wards stopped work and enjoyed the scene. Those who came to look remained to sing or hear the song. Some danced as they stood, some with hands upraised. Some others huddled together and formed groups, dancing hand in hand, while others reeled from side to side and rolled in ecstasies on the hallowed ground. Words are weak, description beggars to portray the scene it is in true color. We leave it to the readers to imagine the rest and enjoy the blessing of the blissful hour. It was afternoon. The Sringari Panda bowed the garland of grace and put it round the neck of the main actor of the scene. It was the hour of the dub, the Boga service of the Lord, and the doors of the inner temple were closed. They were tired and sat down to rest. 1,000 kinds of Mahaprasad were brought, and all sat down on the floor to partake of them. And old Babaji took a morsel and raised it to the lips of Barha Babaji. He accepted it in the midst of loud shouts of Hari Bol, and all rushed in to offer their bolus to Barha Babaji. All invidious distinction was gone. Distinction of caste, color, creed, position in society, and pecuniary circumstances. It was all one universal feeling of bliss reigning in every heart. Some will offer eating, some will take food out of the mouth of another and eat themselves. The diversity of the world was sunk out of recognition, and the grand unity of being was manifest on the scene. Such in the virtue of the true devotee, such power of the Spirit in the name and the image of the Lord. Such is the unifying spiritualizing influence of the Mahaprasad, duly offered up to the Lord. At Gambhira. Now, after thus paying their homage to the stirless Jagannath, the deity of the Lord of the worlds in the temple, they naturally thought of the stirring Jagannath, the Lord incarnate in the person of Sri Chaitanya, who lived and moved and played his part in the same city only 400 years before. They inquired about the Gambhira, and the aforesaid old Babaji, Sri Ramakrishna Das, offered to show them the way. This was the abode where Sri Chaitanya lived and was living still, for the devotee knows that the Lila is eternal, though invisible to mortal eyes. The devotees go there to see him with the spiritual eyes, and their hopes and desires are fulfilled. Barha Babaji was of course inspired, and so were his mates, with similar hopes as they went on their way, and sang as they ran through the streets. Where art thou, O Gauranga dear? To see thee from Gauda we came here. Thy moony face we haven't seen so long. Come, let's see, or we die ere long. What friend is here will take us there, where thou playest with Nityananda dear? Come, let us see thy face, O dear. We come to see thee, for thou art here. They enter followed by a large crowd, and Sri Harivajan Das Babaji who was in charge of the sacred abode, took them to the coign of seclusion where Sri Chaitanya lived in retirement in the interior of the spacious dwelling. Babaji came as he looked on the kanta used by the Lord and touched it with his hand. He burst out into sobs and muttered in the fullness of his heart, "Have mercy, Lord, on thy humble servant. So may I serve and serve of your servants and rest under the peaceful shade of your sheltering feet." So saying, he swooned away and fell down. When his companion hastened to help him and restore his consciousness, then they visit the historic home of Sri Vasudeva Sarvabhauma and the Siddha Bakul. Sarvabhauma is the name of the illustrious leader of the Vedantist sannyasis of Puri, who was held in high regard in the temple of Jagannath and who ultimately became one of the devout worshippers of Sri Chaitanya. Siddha Bakul was the place of retirement assigned to Thakur Haridas, the great Mohammedan devotee of Sri Chaitanya, where he could carry on his devotional practice undisturbed by the crowds of pilgrims in the vicinity of the temple. It was so called because it was underneath a bakul tree and inhabited by the Siddha Mahatma, who was so dear to the Lord. The bakul might yet be seen standing on the rind of the trunk, hollowed out by the ravage of the lapsed years. I must say that the Gambhira in Jagannath Puri is a room where Sri Chaitanya was living and sleeping. It's a room so small. It must to have, I guess, 3 meters per 3 meters, no more than that. And there Sri Gauranga was sleeping. And Gambhira, back in time, was the area of a house of rich men where they save their jewels, money, any very expensive and important thing that must to be under custody. They put it in this small room in a house. This is a Gambhira, and this place, in this special house, was the place that Sri Gauranga used to live in. Extremely small place, I must say. I was very surprised when I see it. But also in the same way, this Gambhira in Puridam, the home of Sri Gauranga, was some very mystical and mysterious place. The energy was extremely deep. Even the room was small. I have to say that it was feeling big, but physically small, but big and deep, because there was resonating the chants of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. The tears of Sri Gauranga were there. The ecstasy of Sri Gauranga was there, is there still. And you can feel it when you see. It's a very mysterious, sacred place. And now this residence, this full house, have been modified from the original. Back in time, the room of Sri Gauranga was next to the gardens. So many times when Sri Gauranga get out of this room in ecstasies, when he saw the garden, he thought that it was Sri Vrindavan Dham, the Nitya Lila Vrindavan. And he ran through the garden and chant and fell around the flowers of the garden, trees and others. And from there, many times, Gauranga get lost from the eye seeing of his devotees, and they must to look for Sri Gauranga for hours around this place. Extremely nectarious, and also the 𝐶𝐻𝐻𝐿 of Sri Haridas Thakur Namacharya also is a super interesting place, because the Bokul, the tree of Sri, where Sri Haridas Thakur used to do his japa, 3,300,000 repetitions of the holy name. This place has the tree still, but Muslims were cutting this tree several times, and this tree keep growing. Nowadays, the tree is totally dry and hollow inside, but you see fresh leaves on top of this tree. Always is having some green leaves on top. Is very much mystical as well, beautiful. They cut the tree several times to destroy this place, but it was not possible. The tree will come out. And how this tree came out is also interesting, because there was no tree originally, and Sri Gauranga knew that Haridas Thakur was doing his 3 lakhs japa, 300,000 holy names, and the sun was extremely hard in summer, and Haridas Thakur was getting old. So Srimad Mahaprabhu bring a toothstick from Jagannath Prasadi and stick it in the ground where Sri Haridas Thakur was chanting the Mahamantra in Japa. And from this toothstick of Jagannath, boom, emerged a tree, this Bakul, 𝐶𝐻𝐻𝐿. So this tree is absolutely mystical, and not only the nature of how it came out through Sri Gauranga, but also because it had been there 500 years, still giving green leaves. But not only that, this tree is infected with the Harinam of Sri Haridas Thakur Namacharya, because this very tree was receiving and listening, hearing the chant, daily chant of Haridas Thakur Namacharya. Is extremely powerful, and I wish that all of you can go and give your pranams, your reverence to this tree and to the Gambhira in Jagannath Puri. Sadly, devotees of low birth like me, we cannot go inside the Jagannath Mandir, the Jagannath temple. But since I cannot go there, and I try from different ways and with different ideas to get in, and it was not possible. But Jagannath is the Lord of the universe, so I am part of the universe. I am my Lord as well. And that's why in my altar there is 1, 2, 3, 4 Jagannath blessing to this fallen soul. So yes, I cannot go, or Westerns cannot go to Jagannath Mandir to have darshan of their Lord. This is nonsense anyways. Because a devotee is not the body, a devotee is the heart, is the seva, is the devotion to Lord Krishna, to Lord Jagannath. But cultural things sometimes are like this, obsolete. Anyways, Jagannath is here in front of my eyes and is in the lila of Gauranga Mahaprabhu that we can think, feel. Is in the lila of Radharaman Charan Das Dev that we can read, study and do Smaranam on the lila when Bhare Baba is there with Jagannath. Let's continue and we will read this chapter 8, just a few pages left of this chapter. As always, if you are enjoying these readings and this information and my service, please, I kindly ask you to like and share and to leave a comment in the comment section of this video. It would help a lot to make this video available to more devotees, more good souls as you. And subscribe to this channel. It helped me a ton to keep going and to inspire me in this divine seva. Complete resignation to the will of the Lord. Ramakrishna thus asked them where they meant to put up. The Bhargavaji said in reply that they were not anxious on that account, for they were going to stay where the Lord would be pleased to keep them. At this, Balaram Babu offered to take them to his Thakurbarhi, the resident of God, while Ganesh Patanajaka will conduct them to Dolmandapsahi. For the urgent, it was near to the temple of Jagannath and more convenient in every respect. Ramakrishna's Babaji was the oldest of them all, and he gave his verdict for the latter. So it was decided that they would take up their lodgings at Dolmandapsahi. This is one of the sahis or quarters of the city of Puri, but not before they had taken their day's prasad at Balaram Babu's, who was henceforth to be the devout friend in the service of our Bhargavaji for all time to come. The one thing to be noticed in this connection is that our hero resigned himself truly and depended solely on the dispensation of the Lord, and he will never move an inch at his own sweet will, for his will was completely merged in the will of the Lord, and himself was not longer his but the Lord's. Jai Ho Radharaman Ki Jai. The vision of Vrindavan. Next afternoon they set out singing and dancing on the way to the sea. They approached the shore, and the sand dunes were to be seen from a distance, and particularly the one that was bigger than the rest, the mount of sand, the Shatak Parvata. There was the shrubby growth under the banyan tree on the height of the Shatak Parvata, the sand dune mound. The banyan tree suggests the idea of the Panchivata, the tree under the Sri Krishna will stand and play upon his flute. The Shatak Parvata itself was taken to be the Mount Govardhan, and the shrubby growth the bower of Vrindavan. The same which in former days inspired Sri Chaitanya with thoughts of Vrindavan, and occasioned the mighty outburst of devotional sentiment hitherto unknown in the world of mortals. Bhargavaji discerned it from far and fainted away in the suddenest ascension of the ecstatic delight. His companions tended him carefully, and he soon recovered, ascended the sand hill, took his seat under the banyan tree, and began to weep as he went on to say, "Friends, I saw from distance my life and soul Sri Gauranga in company of Svarup Damodar. Here under this banyan tree I came up to them, but I could not find them. This wood Sri Gauranga would take for Vrindavan. This banyan tree was to him the Bansivat, and this Shatak Parvata suggests Govardhan. He will feel he was in Vrindavan, will thrust his arm round the neck of his friend Svarupa and weep and wail to have lost sight of Sri Krishna. Then, turning to his friend, he said, 'Come, brother, let me hear the ambrosial ravings of Sri Gauranga at the sight of the Shatak Parvata.' The devotees recite as follows: 'How now, how here? Who brings me here? I was with Krishna and all that is dear. I went to Govardhan, and there I found Krishna and his cattle on the fields around. He climbed the hill and played on his pipe. Radha came, leaving her kinfolk to give. The graces for her person I cannot describe. They entered the cave, the honeysucker's hive. The maids came on and waited without. You raised a row, and the vision died out. Why do you vex me? You give me pain. I strive to find Krishna, but oh, in vain.' Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. He bared it with relish and was overjoyed. Thereupon he danced as he led the way to the coast. And then, when he reached it, he looked upon the surging waves of the sea and muttered, 'This sea was already the shrine of shrines. But now that it has come into contact with the dust of Sri Gauranga's feet, it has come to be the great shrines of shrines. It is mad with love, with the love of God. It is rolling and tossing up the coast land. Do you know why? It is because the dust of Sri Gauranga's feet is there on the coasts. It is for this reason that it sends its waves a-rolling to kiss the dust on the shore. Oh, if it will condense to favor anyone, why that one should be blessed by Sri Gauranga without doubt.' So saying, he threw himself down, rolling and tossing on the shore. The sight of the sea roused his love divine, and he could not contain himself with joy. After a while he got up, and they all bathed in the sea. Then they advanced towards the Samadhi, where lay Thakura Haridas, the great Mohammedan devotee, the special favorite of Lord Gauranga. They buried him, who buried him with his own hands and went a-begging himself for the celebration of his funeral ceremonies. All this streamed into his consciousness, and Barha Babaji was in trance. The followers chant aloud the names of Hari as he was all right again. Then they returned, perambulate the temple of Jagannath, and came back to the lodging. The Lila. Here we must pause to consider a most important problem before we can hope to appreciate the beauty of the scene we have just described. I mean the problem of the Lila and its apprehension by the throat-going devotees. The first thing we must note in this connection is that God, our personal God, is not a mere historical personage, an ordinary mortal that came and goes and is heard no more, but the eternal being who manifests himself at time to lend himself to the easy understanding of the finite intelligence of never hope to the Vaishnav. Bless up, great one. here 1 second, just 1 second. Yes, a small mistake from my side. Infinite intelligence of men. God is always and everywhere, and so are his leelas, his incomparable feats of love. They are not mere historical incidents. They are shown in darkness and cast into the chase by the glaring events of the succeeding years. They have not todays and yesterdays, bound down within the limits of time and space, but they are eternal and omnipresent, as God himself is eternal and omnipresent. The devotee sees his God within. He clings closely to his lotus feet, the fountainhead of the Leelas, and he is carried away in the mighty current of the stream till he is filled within and without, in his heart and on all sides around, with God and his Leela, real, resplendent, beautiful, blissful, eternal and profound, and his soul rests in peaceful contemplation of eternal bliss, thus revealed to him on the superconscious plane. He will fain be there as long as he is alive. He will seek to be there every moment of his life, and each little thing insignificant to superficial men untrained in the art of spiritual visualization will open up fresh vistas of spiritual perception and let him strike to the kingdom of his God. It was thus that the Shatak Parvata suggests the eternal Govardhan of the eternal Vrindavan as the eternal divine love play going on in the eternal cave. It was thus that the same suggests the eternal Sri Gauranga with the eternal Svarup Damodar playing the eternal part of the ideal devotee, eternally intoxicated with the eternal love of the eternal God, who appears only twice in a cycle of creation. As Sri Krishna in the Dwapara and Sri Gauranga in the Kali Yuga, to reveal himself in his divine fullness and show men the way to the perfection of the beatitude and bliss, the end and aim of life on earth. The two Leelas are not two, but really one, essentially intertwined in and synthetically combined in the one indivisible veritable of divine being and its truth. Rather too fine or too big to be readily swallowed by reason on the plane of consciousness can surely be verified by actual experience on the superconsciousness plane. We will read in the next episode Imitation Chaitanya, and then will be the chapter 9, Talks on Sri Gauranga. Supreme nectar falling from the sky to all of you, to my heart, and the nectar of reading for Jagannath, Patita Pavan Mahaprabhu, for Sri Nitai Gauranga, for Giriraj, for Jagannath Baladev Subhadraji, for Radheshyam Sundar Lal, for Bade Baba, and for all the Devatas and Devis. Thanks very much for watching, and see you in the next. Bhajanitai Gaur Radheshyam Japo Hare Krishna Hare Ram.
শ্রীমৎ শঙ্করাচার্য দর্শিত সন্ন্যাসী, একটি কথা আমি তোমাকে জিজ্ঞাসা করি।
আদেশ করুন।
আজ 7 দিন যাবৎ তুমি আমার কাছে নিয়মিত পাঠ গ্রহণ করছ, কিন্তু এর মধ্যে একটি প্রশ্নও তুমি উত্থাপন করো। মহামৌনীর মতো বসে আছো, এর অর্থ কি?
নীরবে শুনছিলাম।
তা শোনো, কিন্তু আমি যে ব্যাখ্যা করলুম তা তোমার হৃদয়ঙ্গম হলো কিনা, আমি যা পাঠ দিলুম তা তুমি বুঝতে পারলে কিনা, সেটা তো আমার জানা দরকার।
হ্যাঁ, আমাদের কাছে এমন প্রাঞ্জল ব্যাখ্যা,
অপূর্ব ব্যাখ্যা এমন আর কখনো শুনিনি।
বেদান্তের সব জটিলতা আপনার ব্যাখ্যায় একেবারে সরল হয়ে গেছে আদেব।
তরুণ সন্ন্যাসী, তোমারও কি ওই মত?
না
না। কেন?
আপনার বেদান্ত ব্যাখ্যা কিছুই আমার বোধগম্য হয়নি।
কিছুই বোধগম্য হলো না? মূর্খ।
আপনার ব্যাখ্যা ভুল।
ভুল? আমার ব্যাখ্যা ভুল? জানো যে আমি সার্বভৌম ভট্টাচার্য সারা ভারতকে শিক্ষা দিয়েছি বেদান্ত।
ভুল শিক্ষা দিয়েছে সার্বভৌম। বেদান্তের সারমর্ম তোমার কিছুই উপলব্ধি হয়নি।
তুমি আমার নাম ধরে ডাকো।
তুমি মায়াবাদী, তাই বেদান্তের অপব্যাখ্যা করে স্বয়ং ঈশ্বরকে অস্বীকার করেছ। কিন্তু তুমি কি শোনোনি শ্রুতি বলেছেন তাকে, জ্যোতি সব মৌপিতা জ্যোতি তামসা পরমুচ্যতে। তুমি কি পড়নি, সর্বতঃ পানিপাদঙ্গতঃ সর্বতোপি শিরোমুখম সর্বতঃ শ্রুতিমল্লোকে সর্বমাবৃত্য তিষ্ঠতি। তিনি আমার আরাধনী, তার গুণের কথা স্বতন্ত্রে ব্যক্ত করা যায় না। তুমি কি শোনোনি আত্মারাম মুনিগণের কথা, আত্মা রামস্য মুনয় নির্গ্রন্থা পুরুক্রমে কুর্বন্তঃ হইতু কিম ভক্তিম ইত্থম ভূত গুণোহরি। বৃথা তর্কে তার প্রতিষ্ঠা করা যায় না সার্বভৌম। তিনি হৃদয়ে এসে প্রতিষ্ঠিত হন প্রেমে, তখন উপলব্ধি হয় তিনি বাস্তবের চেয়েও বাস্তব, সর্ব মাধুর্যের সার, পরম রসতম বিগ্রহ।